Let's give a round of applause for Zach Schubert.
What's up, guys? I'm actually going to stand up and walk around a bit just because then I can see you better. Like Josh said, I run an agency. We started off originally just doing SEO for e-commerce brands. Now we do also Google Ads and Amazon. So I want to walk you through a little bit my journey and what I learned in the lead gen space. I actually don't come from the agency space. I come from the nonprofit space. I actually started my agency to be able to fund my own nonprofit. But through the process, just fell in love with the agency space, with the education space, helping other people also grow their businesses. So as Josh said, I run a community with Eddie Malouf and Ashton Shanks. We've had about 1,000 agency owners come through it. So that's one of the places where I get a lot of this information. And not only does it work for my agencies, but it also works for the agencies that we work with. So it took me about a year, 1 year, year point two. It just didn't look as good on the graph. But it was actually like 1.2 years before we actually got to 7 figures. I started my agency, it's been about 2.5 years now. After 1.8 years, we actually hit 2 million. So through this lead gen process, I actually got really lucky. I started with a business partner that was incredible at operations. So I could focus and dedicate my entire time on lead generation and sales. I became very good at it in the past 2 years. And so I want to share today one of my strategies with you guys. I know that lead gen is one of the things that most agencies are terrible at, which is why I talk about it a lot, because it's something that I've been able to master pretty good. The other thing is as they were saying at the beginning presentation, I think omnipresence is one of the most important things. We're gonna dive through a few different strategies shortly, not gonna dive too much into detail. I mostly want to cover Facebook ads. So we're gonna walk through how to do lead gen through Facebook ads. I'm going to use my agency as an example because they're things that are working right now. If you look at my Instagram stories, I literally posted a story this morning of waking up to eight new book calls on our calendar, qualified e-commerce brands booked on our calendar overnight while I was sleeping. So they're things that are working literally right now. And then I also have a PDF at the end with all of the notes to this presentation, as well as our cold email SOPs and other lead gen strategies that we're currently using so that you can have those also. Because we do all of them, not just the Facebook ads, because omnipresence is the most important part. I'm not an expert in the other ones. This is by far the one that brings the majority of our business. That's why I wanted to talk about it. We get probably 80% of our lead flow through it and 80% of our sales as well. And I'm not going to dive into sales, but the good thing is you're already going to be covered with sales also. So the first thing that I want to talk about real quick is positioning. I'm not going to once again dive too deep into it because I know that we're going to talk more about it. But one of the things that helped us tremendously is personal brand, right? So one of the things that we did at a very, very, very early onset of the agency is we decided to revolve the agency almost entirely around my own personal brand, with not a ton of focus on our agency's brand. We do much more focus on our agency's brand rather than mine now. But at the beginning phases, this was one of the best ways for us to be able to position ourselves correctly because it was more personable. People like talking to people, not to logos. So whenever I even recommend people to run ads, I always recommend them even to run them to their personal profiles. But we're gonna dive real quickly into this. Kind of the first step I see in personal branding. And this one is in person, right? So this isn't even something that you do, we're just gonna go quickly through this, something that you do online. But one of the things that helped my agency and even myself and my self-development and the relationships that I made meeting people like Josh is finding people and building significant relationships with individuals that are inside your niche or that are like you want to be. Like, for example, very early on, I cozied up to one of my good friends now, whose name is Luke Belmar, and with my relationship with him, getting inside of his community, it was one of the things that helped push my agency forward a lot because I was able to meet a lot of high-level individuals that would then refer me clients, that would then invite me to events, that would then invite me to podcasts, etc. And that was one of the most important things for my personal brand. And the only way really to do that is to communicate the value that you have with them and give back. And sometimes it takes a while, right? Sometimes it takes a while. You send them a DM, you try and build a relationship with them, and then you try and find where they have a need. And once you find that need for them and you're able to fulfill it, I promise you they will repay you, they will be your friend, they will invite you to things. And that is one of the most important things. Not going to dive too much into this, but that was one of the most important things that helped me. And that's all that in-person stuff. That's not posting content. That's not dropping in people's DMs and sending them cold DMs or whatever. Like, it's intentionally reaching out to people and building relationships with them. That's how I met Josh. As I went to Geeked Out, I intentionally knew the people that I wanted to meet, and I only talked to those people, only built relationships with those people, and here I am in front of you speaking. So it works, and it is one of the best ways to build your personal brand, because then people will back you up on social media, they'll back you up on your events, etc. So that's one of the biggest things, is providing value in person to people. Now, one of the biggest things that we also do to get clients, I'm not going to dive too much into this philosophy, but we attend a lot of events as well. This year, we're actually trying to attend one event every single month, whether myself or someone in my team. So attending events is huge. I'll even cover a little bit about speaking events and getting on podcasts. We've gotten a ton of clients from speaking at events and from getting on podcasts as well. And there's everyone in the world is doing a podcast right now, really. So it's not that hard to get on a podcast if you have some value to provide for people and if you meet the right people. That's really the main thing behind it. Attending events is easy. I wrote it out here. It's kind of silly that I wrote it out here, but you just find an event. If you're in the DTC space, you can go to dtctimes.com. That's a good website. And it has every single event that you can ever imagine. Free events, paid events, events locally, wherever. But I mean, it's easy to attend an event. You just buy a ticket and you go, right? There's not much to it. We even have our local team members attend. Managers are part of our sales team. We have our managers attend kind of as part of a cultural thing of like, hey, go learn, interact with other people in the industry. Since we're all working remotely, it's good to have them have that in-person contact and in-person relationships with other people. We do not require them to sell our services, obviously, at those events, but as a result of their being bought into our culture and to our company, it ends up happening, and then they end up talking to people and getting us sales from that as well. But then our sales team does go, and they are required to actually sell our services as well. So that's something that actually works very well. But that one's easy, obviously, attending events. And the next one, there we go. So podcasts and speaking gigs, once again, providing value to the connections that you made and then just asking. It's really just that easy. And that's why I said I don't want to dive too deep into this, because it's meeting with real people in real life, saying, hey, I saw that you have this blah, blah, I wanted to talk and chat, see if I can provide value. Know that you have an agency community. I know that you have a community that is full of DTC brands. I know that you have an affiliate marketing community. Just wanted to see if there's any value I could provide, be a moderator, whatever it is, and see how you can provide value, and then eventually just asking, being like, hey, you've seen all the value that I can provide to you, what I have to offer. You like me, I like you. Let me speak on your podcast. Let me speak at your event. And it works. It really does work. Funny little fact, to speak at this event, I just messaged Josh on Instagram. I was like, hey, you have an open spot? And he's like, yeah, sure, you can go first. And I was like, sick, I'll go first. But it's really just that easy. A lot of people don't know how easy it is. It's just sometimes you ask, and the worst thing that they can say is no, right? So attending events you want to speak at. This is something that I do a lot, is I'll go to the event first so that I know who to meet, who the people are that are moving and pulling all the strings. And then I'll cozy up to them during the event, right? And then I'll connect with them later. And it gives me an entire year to build rapport with them in order to be invited to be the speaker the following year. So that's one of the things as well. Be consistent with creating and posting high value content. Don't try and go viral. I'm hugely opposed to going viral. I don't like going viral myself, and I don't encourage people that I work with or my clients or anything like that to go viral either. especially in our space. We want to charge higher prices. We are charging something significantly high ticket, so we don't need to appeal to the masses. We need to appeal to 100 people that just are really, really down with us and really down with our content. So that's one of the things that helps as well, because high value content and long form content draws in high valued people. And those high valued people will then invite you to events. So I've been invited to a lot of podcast events just because I've posted high value content as well. And then the community sharing, I mentioned that as well. Okay, so that's super quick. Step 3 in personal brand is content creation. I'm not gonna dive into this at all. I basically told you guys my philosophy of not trying to go viral. I'll do short form as well, but mostly to push people into my long form. My long form is really kind of my funnel. But I'll kind of show you, give a breakdown. Number 1 is short form video, 1 per day. Number 2, this is what you need to create. I actually block out my calendar, so every Thursday I create content. I don't do anything else. The reason that I do that is because I have a slight ADHD tendency. So for me, switching my mindset from like sales to lead gen to operations to meeting with my executives to whatever, like to do that to my brain, it takes a lot to transition it. You can just ask my wife when I have to go to work to talk to her when she comes home from work. It takes me like 30 minutes before I can actually fully switch over my brain. So for content specifically, I have 1 day that I dedicate fully to content so that my brain is only thinking about creativity and creating content. Because I'm not a super creative person in itself. So that's how I specifically do it for myself. So I highly recommend blocking out a day that you can dedicate to it. If you can't dedicate a weekday, dedicate a Saturday to it, right? So those are the pieces of the long form of content that I recommend. Number 1 is the short form, 1 per day. Long form video, 1 per week. If you want to get more aggressive, you can do more than that. And then long form text posts, 1 per day. That was one of the things that Josh was saying about LinkedIn. And then these are the platforms and where you kind of break them down. And guys, don't overthink it. Once again, I think people overthink it because it's either they're afraid of their audience judging them incorrectly because maybe you have your friends and your family in there, or you want to go viral. But if you go into it with the mindset of like, hey, I don't want to go viral and I don't want to get 1 million views, then it's like, oh, 100 views is perfect. 1,000 views is perfect because that's exactly what I want. And people try and intend to overthink it, but you can get a lot of business just from having a few thousand followers. So you don't need to create these huge lofty goals of, man, I'm trying to create Hormozy content, I'm trying to go viral, because that's what everyone's talking about is trying to go viral. And it just doesn't work as well in our niche also. So you're gonna post the number 1 and the number 3 on LinkedIn. So that would be 1 short form video a day and 1 long form text a day. YouTube, 1 short form, 2 long form. Number 1, number 2, long form, short form. Twitter and X, I'm very bullish on X just because Elon bought it and he doesn't do anything that doesn't have a huge plan for the future. So I think it's going to be a very big asset. Maybe it isn't now, but it is going to be in the future. I'm not sure what he's going to do with it, obviously, but it's already registered as like a financial company, all these different things. So that's one of the things that I'm hugely bullish on. And then Instagram is always great because if you run your ads there, then people will be able to see your content after they follow you from your ad. Not going to dive into content too much. So LinkedIn, one of the things that we do as well, just wanted to mention this super quick, is we use this software called Dripify to automate our LinkedIn. A lot of you guys, I know you probably use VAs or setters to send outbound messages. Dripify actually just does it for you. And it's all completely automated. I don't actually know what it costs, but this is what our flow looks like. It'll actually send an invite to someone. So a connection invite with them. You're supposed to do around like 20 a day just because that is the recommendations to not get banned on LinkedIn basically. This will be in the slides afters too, so don't worry. And then if they don't accept it, it goes through this whole funnel. But if they do accept it, it waits an hour, then it endorses a skill, waits another hour, likes one of their posts, waits another hour, sends them a message, waits 3 days, another message, 4 days, another message, 5 days. Very similar to cold email. If they reply, obviously they get pulled off of this, and then I have my setters go out and chat. One of the things that works very well for this is not pitching them in the first message. either giving away some form of free value or just like recommending them to look at your content, right? That's why it's important to be active on LinkedIn also. If you're using this strategy, your acceptance rates will go through the roof. And the way that you pick who you're going to send these messages to and these connections to is either through Sales Navigator. You can go through and filter through and find the audience that you want, and then you just upload it in there. Or you can literally just upload a list of emails. What we do is we just pull emails from ListKit or Apollo, and then we just upload them in there, and then it will literally connect. And the reason that I say omnipresence is important because we're also sending cold emails to the same exact people, and we're also running ads to the same exact people. So they're seeing us on all the platforms. But I love Dripify just because it automates everything, and then you don't need to have the person do it. And then you know you're getting consistent results. You can see the stats. You don't need to track it on an Excel sheet. It's just much easier this way. All right, lead magnets. This is one of the most important things that a lot of people miss. It's the same in every space. You need to be able to provide free value to people. So the way that you are able to provide free value in the agency space, for us specifically for your e-com brands, is creating lead magnets for people that they can actually use and that are actually valuable for them. So I'm going to break down our philosophy on lead magnets and what every single lead magnet needs to have, because I see a lot of these, especially on LinkedIn. One of the biggest strategies on LinkedIn right now is giving away all these like free Notion whatever or downloads. But one of the biggest mistakes or things that I see with lead magnets is how people are actually creating their lead magnets. So my philosophy behind lead magnets and what has worked for us, the first thing, obviously, you need to create them. I recommend creating 8 lead magnets. That's all you ever really need. If you don't want to create more than 8, you don't need to ever again. 8 is the right number that we found, and the reason for that being is because you can continue to cycle them, and it'll last on a 2-month cycle. And then you need to create 2 of them that you can sell for either $1 or $99, between $1 and $99. So 2 of those lead magnets need to be so good that you could charge for it, right? Whether it's like, hey, download, if you do like CRO or something, like, hey, download 100 landing pages that converted at X amount for all of our clients, and then pay $1 to get access to it, right? The reason for that being because it creates buyer's intent, even if it's only $1. They've taken out their credit card, they've purchased something from you, so they have that mentality of, okay, I've already given them money, and then it's much easier to ask them for more money. But that's one of the things, is make sure that 2 of them you can sell between $1 to $99. And then this is my philosophy behind lead magnets. Number 1 is it has to be a complete solution. One of the most annoying things whenever you download a lead magnet and then you get to the bottom of it, it's like, oh, and you have to work with us to do the rest of it. And you're like, okay, so this was useless then. Or, oh, then you have to go and study and research this in order to fully do the strategy. It has to be an entirely complete strategy and something that they can do within 24 hours. Right? And that one's super, super important, especially if they didn't buy it for $1 to $99. They have to be able to execute on that lead magnet within 24 hours or they will not use it. It's just the reality of it. Because it was free, they honestly do not value it unless they're like a hardcore follower of yours. They honestly do not value it, so it needs to be something that they can execute quickly. And that's difficult for me in the SEO space, but it's easier in other spaces where it's like, hey, download these email templates for your email marketing. And then they can just use the templates quickly, they can add them in, and boom. The other thing is it must be unique and have character. The reason that I say this is because we've all downloaded lead magnets that look like ChatGPT wrote them. And when people read a lead magnet and it feels like AI wrote it, or it feels like it's not unique or it has no character, they immediately don't think it's valuable and it's just information that they can download off of Google. So the way that we do that is not only we do like crack jokes in our lead magnets, but we also put like specific case studies or like, hey, we did this for our client and this was the result for it. So I recommend you doing this also. Right? So make sure there's some character to it, make sure it's unique. And then this is a thing that a lot of people miss, is add affiliate links to it. The reason that I say this is because you can make a lot of affiliate money off of people just downloading your lead magnets. Because they will download it, you will tell them what tools to use, whether it's a Shopify app, whether it's Go High Level, whatever it is, you put your affiliate link in there, and then when they're going through the instructions, they will click on your link to follow your instructions. They will purchase that software that you told them how to use, and then it will make their life easier. So they'll trust you for the advice that you provide, and then you'll just make affiliate commission off them, even if they stick with you or not, even if they buy your service later or not. So that's one of the things that we do as well. We make a good chunk of cash off of affiliate links as well. So lead magnet examples, 50 Klaviyo or Lander templates, SEO optimization checklist for your Shopify store in 2024, a complete guide on how to run your Google ads, right? Some simple things like that are easy, just examples of kind of lead magnets. So distribution. So we've created these 8 lead magnets. Now we need to distribute them. And how do we distribute them? We actually run ads, right? A lot of people haven't really delved into this strategy, but we actually run ads to all of our lead magnets. And it costs us, I just checked before I came up here, it costs us about 30 cents to get a download, which is stupid cheap. So you can actually run and say, hey, I have this free PDF on how to do blah, blah, blah. And that's all your creative needs to be. They download it and boom, you have their email. You have their phone number. So that's one of the things that we do is we run ads to it. It also positions you properly inside of the ads. You can then retarget these people later, and then they'll probably follow you and they'll probably come find you again later too and look at your content. So then for social media, we cycle across all social media platforms in a 2-month cycle. So that's why I say you only need 8, because it's a lot of work to create a good lead magnet. But we actually, my partner's LinkedIn and then my LinkedIn, we rotate them. So if you have 8 lead magnets, that's 4 weeks. You can distribute 1 a week, posting on your social media. The way that we do it on LinkedIn is very similar to how it's done on Twitter, where you post it and you have it be like a giveaway. You tell them to comment something below, and then you connect with them, and then you send them the message with that PDF. The reason that we want them to connect with us, and the reason that we're not just putting it for download inside the post, is because we want to create that engagement on the post. And a lot of those posts do very, very well because they all get comments of like, I want your checklist, I want your checklist, I want your checklist. And then all of a sudden you have 100 comments and it's gone slightly viral because of all the people that commented. So we force people to comment just like you do on Twitter, where you do those giveaways, I'm sure that you've seen as well. And then we just cycle those every 2 months. So we do giveaways, and sometimes we'll do opt-ins, but mostly we do giveaways. By opt-in, I mean where if they click on the link, they have to put in their email and their name and stuff in order to be able to download it. But giveaways is the best way to draw up engagement on social media, so that's why we do it that way specifically. Even if you do it in your Instagram stories, getting replies to that story will actually boost your story's visibility also. So that's why we do it that way instead of just posting links. Then oftentimes we'll also convert those lead magnets into long form videos and put opt-ins for the downloadables, right? So if there's anything in there that is like, hey, download my free templates, we'll make a video walking through the templates, what's working, why it's working, and then in the link or the video's description, we'll put the actual templates downloadable in there. And then that's just another way to get their emails. But then you're able to use them across all these different platforms. So now what? Now that you have all these emails, now that you have all these phone numbers, you have all these followers, what do you do with it? Have your setters reach out to the emails. It's really, really straightforward. So those are all people that are qualified to work with you because they downloaded it and they liked it. So you just reach out to them. You're like, hey, I noticed you downloaded our free PDF. How are you liking it? Great, fantastic. Would you be interested in us building a strategy for you? Right? So it's pretty straightforward. The second one is welcome sequence the newsletter. So once anyone downloads anything from us or ever gives an email, they get put into GHL and they get put into our welcome sequence for our newsletter. We send out 1 to 2 newsletters every single week, and we get a lot of really good results, and a lot of agencies sleep on newsletters, and it's really not that hard to do. You're not putting like sales in there of like, oh, today it's 20% off. It's not like e-commerce or anything like that. You're just kind of doing long form posts on your newsletter. So we literally take some of the same things that we put on LinkedIn and we convert them, just make them a little bit longer for a newsletter, and then we just push it out there. At the bottom we say, if you'd like to apply to work with us, here's the application. And that's it. There's no hard call to action. It's just to try and provide value for people. The last one is we actually create lookalike audiences of these same people, and then we retarget these people on ads as well. Not only lookalike, but also retargeting. So that's kind of how we distribute and how we target those leads specifically, but then it obviously brings in a lot of people organically as well. So now here's the juice. I want to make sure that this is actionable for you guys. There are steps that you can actually take. So I actually have screenshots of like my ad account. I have screenshots of my Go High Level so that you can see exactly how I broke it down. You don't need to take a picture of the screen. Like I said, you'll be able to download it after. But I want to make sure that you guys can leave today. You can go at lunch or whatever to your hotel tonight. You could set this up for your agency. That's how step by step I want to make it for you guys. And then I'll see if there's any questions at the end. Hopefully we'll have some time for some questions and I'll be able to answer those for you also. But all of that stuff that you're doing beforehand, all of that is positioning. Yes, it'll help you get some leads for sure, but all of that positions your brand and positions you properly in order for these ads to be successful, right? That's 80% of our business still comes from this, but 80% of the work that we do is actually on the front end of positioning. This is easy. I just turn these on and they run, right? So sleeping on the positioning part is not recommended at all. You have to be able to position your personal brand, your agency's brand, to be able to be someone that provides value to people, that creates good content, that connects with people, and then this will be a breeze, and you'll get very, very cheap leads. Let's go. Landing pages. So this is actually one that I stole from my business partner, Eddie Malouf. I'm sure you've seen it before. If you haven't, I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it. But this is one of their offers that they run. It's pretty straightforward. We just put the offer at the top of the page, and we test a bunch of different offers, and we especially split test the header. Everything below the offer is pretty much the same for every single landing page that we do. The only thing that really changes in our landing pages is this top part. And that's because that's kind of like the offer. So this offer specifically is talking about leaving Q4 behind, because for our clients, we saw last year a huge trend of our clients actually getting better results in Q1 than Q4. And in e-com, obviously Q4 is huge. So everyone's like, they're like euphoric after Q4 of like all the money that they made. And we're like, hey, you can actually make more than you made in Q4 if you work with us. So then this is actually one of our top converting offers during this time of the year. We actually ran this offer last year also, so we didn't entirely steal it, but we did design our landing page a little bit around it. So that's one of the things is you craft your offer. The way that I build, I think that's the next slide, is the how to build out a landing page. Next one. Yeah, so this is how I generally structure our offer and structure our landing pages. So the first thing, as I mentioned, is the offer and the call to action. Pretty straightforward. Then we go through social proof. So you'll see here immediately brands that we work with or that we have worked with. Calling out any pain points. So you'll see down here. So you missed the mark in Q4. Oftentimes people didn't miss the mark, but if you tell that to them, it makes them think that they could have made more. So you're calling out their pain points, how we solve the pain points for our clients. So then we actually say, hey, you did this thing, you messed up. This is what we did for our clients, and this is why it worked so well. Reiterating the pain points with some more social proof. The structure of our offer, why we are different than other agencies, and the structure of our process, and then more social proof. You can actually see the full thing here. So it says you missed the mark on Q4. A lot of our clients saw better results in Q1 than Q4 because of SEO and ads. And then here is this one specifically is for Google Ads and SEO. And then here's some screenshots. And then there's some more social proof. It's one of our case studies. And then the actual process, we break it down for them, and on and on. So that's the structure we generally use for our offers. Yes?
What are you building those on?
So we do them all custom, but you can do them on GHL.
GHL?
Yeah, on Go High Level. You can anywhere you build funnels, really. So you can do it on ClickFunnels, Go High Level. Go High Level is obviously the best, so use Go High Level. Yeah, come on. But we do the creatives that they can provide for you. So we just go out and hire these people. We write out scripts for them, and then we have them do like 10 iterations, and then we upload it and test it and see what works. But the actual thing that has gotten us the most results is static images, and the only thing it is a Shopify screenshot. The reason for that being is because our call to action is that big $900,000, right? So immediately anyone that has an e-commerce brand, they see that and they already know what they're looking at, right? And the reason that we edit it so plainly with the Instagram text is because we also want to make it look like it's native and it's not an ad, right? So they think they're looking at a story rather than just looking at an ad. So they're not clicking away immediately. They're reading it, they're seeing what's up. This ad specifically, I really, really like. I always use it as an example. This ad has made me more than $1 million, literally, because it's one of our best performing ads and I've been running it for 2 years. The power of SEO, not a single dime spent on paid ads. You'll spend, and that's actually true. This is a brand that we worked with that only did SEO. They were super opposed to ads. You'll spend your life savings on Zuckerberg every month and blame results on a bad creative, but won't invest a few thousand in SEO and get a 35x ROI like this brand. It must be $30K a month to apply. Our threshold is actually $50K now, but it gets people to the landing page. We'll change it later. Don't worry about it. So that's one of our top performing ads. The reason that we actually haven't changed is because Facebook's pushing it a lot, and if we put in a new creative, they might not push it. So that ad's great. Custom event tracking and GHL automation, go high level automation. So the way that we set up our ads, and this is actually going to get into some of the nitty gritty details. If you're a media buyer on Facebook, excuse me, I do things very, very nitty gritty and not traditional and probably not the most optimal and right way, but it works. So that's why I do it. I have a lot of people that I've paid for consulting come into my ad account and they're like, wow, you have a lot of ads running. Wow, you have a weird this setup. Oh, wow, this is odd. And it's like, yeah, but you know, it's been getting my business for a long time. So the way that we set up our custom event tracking is pretty straightforward. The reason for that being is because we want to make sure that the pixel is being triggered for leads that are actually qualified, right? A lot of people optimize their ad for lead forms, or they just do it for, heaven forbid, some even people do it for link clicks. But you can actually optimize your ads and your pixel so that Facebook knows when it's a qualified lead that has booked a call on your calendar. So then it goes out and finds more people like that. It's genius, right? Because Facebook's AI and Facebook's pixel is one of the most intelligent on the planet. So once someone's booked a call on your calendar, it immediately says to Facebook, oh my gosh, that's a good lead. I need to go find more people like that. One of the things that we do is we also help the pixel along a little bit with like doing lookalike audiences and different things like that. Because broad, to be very honest with you, and I know this is kind of contradictory, but broad's never worked for us. It doesn't bring good leads, and it doesn't convert at the cost that we get for using the audiences that I'm going to show you right now. So this is kind of the automation. So this is our homepage. So we actually send a lot of traffic to our homepage as well. That's one of the things that a lot of agencies don't do, but we send a lot of traffic to our homepage. So here are 3 different offers that we're actually running right now. The 3 different landing pages. This, if I could click this, it would open up, but I can't. What it does is it then takes them to a form. And the reason that I'm breaking this down is because you need to set it up this way in order to set up your conversions properly. The reason for that being is because we want to see how the ads are performing, for one, how the landing pages are performing. So you can't send them all to the same exact form, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see which landing page converted which person. The second thing is we have 2 different thank you pages. We have a call confirmation page and a thank you page. So once they fill out the form, inside the form, it has them answer a bunch of questions about their brands, and they have to answer certain things on each of those questions. Otherwise, it doesn't let them unlock the calendar. Like, for example, if they say that they're making $20K a month, boom, thank you so much for applying. Someone will reach out to you, right? They cannot book a call. But if they say that they're making $50K, if they say that they're making $100K, if they say that they're making $1 million, then it'll take them over to the calendar page where they then can book a 15-minute discovery call with us. We do all of our proposals custom. We don't have any set out packages. So I'm not going to dive too into our sales process, but they go into a 15-minute discovery call where literally it actually takes 15 minutes. We ask them a few questions, then we build out our proposal after we get access to all their information. But where the pixel triggers is this call confirmation page. So that whenever anyone makes it to a call confirmation page, Facebook says, bing, that's a good lead. So that's why there's 1, 2, and 3, because we want to make sure that Facebook can see which funnel it came through. So that's kind of the workflow we go through. The way that you can set up that condition inside of GHL is obviously just very rudimentary screenshots. But if you're inside, you actually can't see it. But if you go to I think it's the forms page, you can actually add a condition to it. It's this little squiggly line. I can show you if you need help with it. And then basically you can put if they have revenue that is equal to 0 to 50, then they go to the thank you page. If not, then they go around to the calendar. So that's how we set that up specifically. And then what you do inside of your conversions, so this is inside of actually our pixel. It's active, as you can see, 117 calls booked on it, last active 1 hour ago, and I think this is just 1 month. You go into add integration, and this is just how you set up the custom pixel. If people don't know how to do this, I didn't know how to do this, that's why I'm showing you. You just go to add integration, and then once you go into add integration, it'll say connect website activity using your pixel. You can use event setup tool. That's what we use specifically. You can also just manually code it on your website if you want to. Once you do that, then you put in the URL for the call confirmation right there. And so then once you put that URL in, Facebook knows that anytime anyone lands on this URL, that it's because they were a qualified lead. And so that's when it triggers a conversion for us. So this is inside of the actual ad account. Just wanted to show you guys really quick. We have it under complete registration, but that's where you would set it up inside of the ad set level. Sorry, you just make sure that your conversion location is the website, maximum number of conversions, pixel, complete registration for this ad specifically.
Did you say a value that you put on that custom conversion, or is it nothing? Do you have like a number?
It's nothing because I don't know what they're going to close for.
Got it.
Yeah, so it would depend. So this is our targeting. This is what we use specifically for targeting. This is what's worked for us. This is what's worked for all my consultation clients. The audiences that we use are, one is the lookalike. So email list, that's people that are on our newsletter email that have been on sales calls with us. They're qualified people, right? We have an email list of, it's not huge, I think it's like 7,000 people. So you don't need to have a huge email list in order to create a lookalike audience from it. Facebook will still do a good job in finding it. Pixel, people that have been on our website, and Instagram, since I'm creating content and stuff on there, and since people are seeing my stories, being referred to me, etc., downloading my lead magnets, going to look me up later, we also do it to the Instagram traffic, not only to our company profile, but to my profile as well. Here's one of the audiences that we use. We actually turn this off for some of our ads. It doesn't work for all of them, but this is a good audience to use inside of Facebook. It's an interest, actually. I think it's called payment processing, and the other one's 10% like tax income or something like that in the US. So if you search those things, it'll come up. The payment processing is like payment processing on Facebook in the last 30 days. It's just people that have spent money on Facebook ads in the last 30 days. So if they've spent money on Facebook ads, odds are they're probably a pretty good prospect. 10% income is just targeting the people that have the top 10% income in the United States. So we pair those two together, because then we find the people that are spending money on Facebook in the last 30 days and simultaneously are top 10 income people in the US. So they're probably making some good money, hopefully off their business. And then we do a lot of retargeting to those email lists, to people that download our lead magnets, to people that watched our content, to absolutely everyone. Retargeting is actually the one where a lot of our leads come from, because they downloaded our lead magnet, they found me on social media, they were referred by another client, they had been on a sales call with us in the past, etc. These are the locations that we use. A lot of mistake that a lot of people that I've consulted with is they only target US, or they, heaven forbid, they only target US and Canada. These are all the locations that I've tested, spent thousands of dollars on all of them, and they're the ones that actually bring me clients and bring very cheap leads. Ironically, and well, not ironically enough, but since mostly people focus on United States and Canada, Australia and all of those other countries, United Kingdom especially, get incredibly cheap leads. Those are some of my cheapest leads. It costs us about $100 for a booked call. And from those other countries, from the US, it's about $200, and from those other countries, it's about $50, which is wild to pay $50 for a qualified booked call on your calendar. So do not sleep on those other countries if you can work in them, especially because a lot of those people, I have a very good friend that runs 3 multiple 8-figure e-commerce brands, and he lives in Finland, right? So he doesn't get hit with all of our ads in the US, but all of his brands are inside of Finland, right? And that happens a lot. Germany is huge for e-commerce, especially for if you work in the Amazon space. And then a lot of those other countries are creeping in there as well. France, United Kingdom, Netherlands, etc. Netherlands, you'll get a lot of drop shippers, but you'll get some good e-com brands if that's what you're looking after. So there's that same exact ad. So the way that I run to both is we just do, in the identity, we just run it simultaneously on both profiles. That way that it's running to my agency and it's running to myself. We actually get DMs on both ends. After people have seen our ads, they'll actually DM us on both accounts. Sometimes they'll do it on my personal account and they'll send me a message, be like, hey, I saw your ad, had a few questions or whatever. But they'll also do it on the agency account. So we run it to both of them because then it also does look a little bit more legitimate because you're working, it's a brand, and they go to the Instagram page and they see, okay, it's a brand too. And then they go to my page and they see that I have a following, that I have a personal brand, etc. And then it just gives you more authority. But that's the way that we run it specifically. Prior to when this option was available, we just ran it to my profile though. But now that it's available, we do it to both. Because oftentimes people will follow both of the accounts also. So that's one of the huge benefits of that. And that's where you just select the option for a partnership ad. So there you go. There are the notes for it specifically, just so that you can download that. And there's also some free gifts in there. There is a interview that I did about mergers and acquisitions. Not sure if we're going to cover that, but it's with a good friend of mine that has an agency that was valuated for over 100 million. And then there's cold email in there. I'm not sure what else there is, but I think you can download my funnels as well in there. Not entirely sure, but you can download those there. If you have any questions for me, I'll answer them now. But if you have them in the future, you can follow me there at Hey Zach Schubert on pretty much any platform. But do we still have some time?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. You transported. I'll answer some questions then.
Do you have your setters messaging through your personal actual IG, or do you have them on the business manager, like running everything through there?
What do you mean by?
Like if you're getting inquiries, like say they saw your ad like we were saying before, and then they would message in, do you have your setters actually actively working through your business manager of your IG, or do you actually have them log into?
No, I have them log in, yeah. Some people don't like that, but I mean, I don't like social media. I only started social media because of my agency. Before it, I never posted a photo ever and didn't even have an Instagram, so I don't care if I lose it all. It doesn't matter to me. I have no attachment to it.
Kind of a couple actually. When you're doing international ads, have you noticed the large language barrier? Because that's the one thing I noticed. Like I do email and SMS, and some of them are just serving to like the Netherlands market or the German market or the French market. So
the lander will be a good way to kind of qualify them properly, because if they don't understand that or they can't tell that it's like an English service. We also do service in Spanish, but if they can't tell that it's an English service, then it's like, then they're probably not a good lead in the first place. So we don't get too many leads where it's like people that have different websites in different languages or anything like that.
Got it. And when you do lead magnets, how do you determine which one's paid or free? And have you ever transitioned a free one into paid?
Oh, I forgot to mention that part. Okay, so the paid ones, when you, how to identify it is you basically just, you make it to be valuable enough to be able to sell, right? right? So that's kind of on you of how much value you put into it and how much attention. So like for a lead magnet, it might be a PDF that's like, the free one, it might be a PDF that's like 13 pages, and maybe for the paid one, you want it to be like 80 pages or something like that. So it just has more value than your free one. But when you're running Facebook ads to the paid ones, because you're also going to do it to the paid ones, the price that you establish for that lead magnet is the price that you're able to sell it for through Facebook ads. So for example, if it's costing you $50 to sell that lead magnet, like for the conversion, then you're gonna sell it for $50 and you'll just get more conversions from that, right? But then you still have all of those people's emails, and then it's also offsetting significantly the cost of your ads. So you no longer need to depend on sales entirely to replenish your ads or to fund your ads. From selling those lead magnets, you'll actually get a huge chunk of your ad spend back pretty much immediately, so then there's almost no risk for it. The reason that I highly recommend running ads this way, with the conversion set up this way, is because then you can predict what it actually costs to get a qualified booked call. Our results are the same year round. It never changes. It always costs us an average of $100 to get a qualified booked call in. So that means in my financial department, in my operations department, they know how to project our growth, how many employees we're going to need, how fast we're going to get to it. In the financial department, they know how much it costs us to get a lead, so that we know how much we can spend each month, so that we know when we're spending too much or when we're spending too little, when we continue to scale. It's the only way really to scale your agency predictably, because you can say, okay, if it costs me $100 to get a lead and we close 4 of every 10 leads, then how much does it cost me to get a client? And that's how you can continue to predict it and actually predict the scale of your agency. There's really no other way to do it. If you're relying on organic, if you're relying on referrals, if you're relying on organic social media, if you're relying on content, whatever it is, all of that stuff, you'll get 100 leads the first month and then you'll get 2 the next month. I've been there, right? But Facebook ads is predictable, and it's the only predictable way to scale.
Who's owning this in the organization? Like, who owns leads? The spend, like, who's...
Oh, who manages the ad account?
Well, not just the ad, but like, who's in charge of lead generation in the agency?
So the ad account specifically, I manage because it takes me like 10 minutes a week. I used to pay someone like $1,000 a month to do it, but then it just became easier and easier because we had to do less and less testing, and now we just stick with the same strategy over and over again. So it takes me like 10 minutes a week, so I just do it. As far as like building lead magnets, we generally have managers inside the company do it because they're good at what they do, and it's generally building off of some of our SOPs, right? So it's things that we already do on a regular basis for our clients, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is working. Let's just use this as a lead magnet. So it's generally things that we're doing with our clients, and that's how we build our lead magnets. Is okay, we've done this 100 times for 100 different clients, and it's worked, so let's use this as a lead magnet and give it to people so that they can use it also. So as far as that goes, that's managed there. The appointment setters, they're in charge of all of the emails and everything that comes in. So we actually, one of the things that I also recommend having is having a downsell to your service, because our service starts at like $4,000. So there's a lot of people that can't necessarily, that come through that can't afford our services, right? Probably about, I would say about 70% of the people that fill out the form in that funnel to work with us aren't qualified to work with us. So that's a ton of people that are interested in working with you, that are sold on you, but they just don't qualify to work with you. So we actually have downsells to all of our services. We have like a coaching and course program so that people can actually do it themselves in their own business, and we charge like $1,000 for it. And then we also have like partial services. So for example, in SEO, there's a bunch of different aspects like writing blogs, link building, etc. And we'll actually like, hey, we'll build your links for you for 3 months for $1,000 a month or whatever, if they can't actually afford our entirely full done for you service. But that's how you can actually get some income from those leads that are kind of just wasted. Most people just kind of waste those leads. And so the appointment setters, they'll actually reach out to those applications and they'll say, hey, would like to get on a quick call with you. They jump on a call, they say, hey, our service is between $4,000 to $15,000 in the first month. I don't think you can afford it. I don't think it's a smart business option for you right now based on your qualifications. I would love to see if there's another way that we can still work with you to get you up to that point where you can afford our service. And they respect that. They respect that you want to work with them and that you're still going to try and help them get there instead of just completely brushing them off and saying, hey, you don't matter. So they'll reach out and do those calls, and then we actually give the setters the opportunity to close, and they get sales commission from that also. So they're not only they're getting their 5% commission from whatever the closer closes as far as our deal flow goes, but then they're also getting a 15% commission on all those one-off things that they sell, whether it's like PR or like if you do email marketing, like an email flow setup for them, or there's a bunch of different things that you can kind of try and downsell to people. So they're in charge of that part specifically. And then I'm not sure what else there would be that would require other people. Oh, and then my content creation. I don't always recommend outsourcing it. I do just because I'm lazy and I don't want to do the work. So like all my LinkedIn content, obviously the video content I do because it's my face. But like all my written content I do not do. But that's mainly because I have someone that's been on my team for like 2 years. He was an appointment setter, then he was a closer, so he knows our business inside and out. And so then he just writes all my content, manages my Dripify, manages my cold email, and then I just pay him a salary every single month. So I have a person for that as well.
Thanks, Zach.
Last question.
Rapid fire questions. Your setters, do you have a setter dedicated to each platform, or are your setters across all the different platforms?
Since we do an omnipresent strategy, so for LinkedIn, it was that guy specifically that I mentioned, LinkedIn and cold email. But then for all the other platforms, it's just the same group of setters that gets on the discovery calls and everything. They're actually phone setters.
Your Thursday content days, are you coming to your Thursday day prepped with all of your scripts and all of your content ideas, or are you doing that on the same day that you're recording?
I do it all on the same day, yeah. Because that's when I get in that mindset. That's when I get in that flow. If I have someone that's helping with scripting, which sometimes I do, they'll have it prepared for me ahead of time. But generally I just do it all on that day because it gets me in the flow of it. I learn it, and then I'm able to just deliver seamlessly.
And then last question on this kind of rapid fire, more philosophical. You mentioned that the positioning is like 80%, and then the ads is really where you get the ROI. Obviously, ads you can track hard KPI. With your positioning, the brand, the content strategy, what KPIs do you measure to actually check its efficiency and effectiveness?
So it'll play out in the results of your ads, right? So it's not 80% of the results, it's 80% of the work, because there's a ton of work that goes into positioning yourself properly. But 80% of the results are from those ads. So if you're getting good results from your ads, it means that you're positioning yourself properly. Because a lot of people will just go straight to the ads. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. People will just immediately start going out and trying connecting with people without creating content, without properly building their LinkedIn, with having a profile picture of some NFT, and you're not going to get good results from your LinkedIn from that, right? So it's the same exact thing. You'll get results, obviously, because it's Facebook ads, it works, but your results won't get as good. Without positioning, it was costing us like $200 to $300 per book call, and now it's $100. So you'll see the results drive down.
Thank you.
Yep.